Hey everybody, this is Dan. I'm back doing my second round of crits on this painting for the art camp, Noah's Art Camp. So yeah, I'm still got Katy Perry featuring Juicy J stuck in my head, so I don't really know what to do about that. It's a problem I've never encountered before. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's happening to me. This might be some kind of terminal problem. So anyway, on the previous stream, I'm going to put these up as two YouTube links that are next to each other on the forum so you can watch back to back. I took this piece from the forums and basically reinforced some of the design and pushed some things based on the kind of animals I thought they were using to create this character slash creature. So rendered some stuff out, changed some lighting, added some more features, tried to make it feel a little bit more like what I thought they were going for. So a couple things I might kick back, like the eyebrows still look a little too evil. I might have pulled a little too much of the horn toad in doing that. But for the next phase of this, I'm going to tighten this up. I'm going to polish some things and then start working in some color, which might be a little hit or miss because I don't usually start from grayscale. But I'm going to, figure that out. I used to do it a lot. I haven't done it recently. So yeah, that should be fun. And then whenever I'm done with this, I'm going to do another crit of another piece and just kind of keep going until I run out of steam. I just drank a bunch of coffee. So, yeah. If you want me to talk about anything in particular in the chat, anything at all, just so it's not silent, feel free. I don't care what you ask about. It can be art, it can be art camp, it can be a personal question, it can be E3 stuff, because I know everybody's watching that tonight. That's why no one's been in here. But, yeah. So I'm just going to go and check the chat as I go. And, cool. So, okay, in the chat, I'm going to pop the chat out here because I need to open my references on the other screen. Okay, did I enjoy E3? It was alright. I was mainly watching, I don't have time to, the common thing. I don't really have time to play games anymore because I'm so busy doing freelance stuff, which I'm sure, most of you guys understand, either doing art or doing jobs or something like that. So I wasn't really watching it for like, oh, what am I going to play this year? Because if I'm lucky, I'll get to play 2 games. I basically played 2 games this year. That was it for the whole year. So I was watching it. I really enjoyed a lot of the art direction in the new Assassin's Creed game. It looks like they did a lot of really cool, historically accurate stuff with the French Revolution setting. Basically looked like they hired the whole team from the Les Miserables movie and just made a game out of it. And I really liked the Order, the 1886 game. I like that they're going for those, a new take on steampunk kind of stuff. That was cool. Basically, the reason I watch E3 and the reason you guys should watch E3 if you don't is because wherever the big titles go in the gaming and film industry, that's where most of the freelance follows because everything's kind of a recycle ripoff culture. So, yeah, if something really hits, you want to be familiar with it because chances are you're going to get an offer to work on something that's similar to it, or they might be hiring you to do something pushing it in that direction. So I always try to watch that stuff and see what's going on. Okay, so I realized that I hadn't really flipped this image when I was working on it before to look at, how this red opposite. A good image, a balanced image, is going to feel visually pleasing, whether it's flipped to the right or flipped to the left. That's how it shows balance compositionally. If anything looks askew or wonky or out of place or disproportionate when you flip it, it usually means there's a drawing problem. But yeah, that's what's up. So I'm probably going to recrop this, move some stuff around. I might even, I'm trying to think here, something about the fact that he's wearing a coat and it's like really zoomed in on his head is kind of bothering me. So I think what I might actually do is just copy, merged, paste, and then just refit him to the canvas because he's just kind of like pushed over to the side and we don't really get to see much else of his like, outfit, and he's just sort of there. But yeah, I'm gonna try and make it look a little more balanced from this side, and then I'll flip back and see if it works. So I'm going to go for something like this. You paint this out over here. So show more of that shoulder. In the chat, so you'll be doing some French Revolution steampunk illustrations in your portfolio. I'm not saying I will, but I'm saying that there's a very increased chance that steampunk is going to come back in a big way if that game hits. That's the thing, is like, whenever there's like a big genre-defining thing that comes out and makes a bunch of money, all of a sudden, all those projects that have been on hold that are something like it start getting greenlit and pushed forward. So you'll start seeing recycled art direction. It happens all the time. It's not a bad thing. It's just the nature of how the business works. Things people might not have taken a risk on before because they didn't want to lose money financially. Once somebody else takes that risk for them, like a company like Sony, they can then, feel more confident about going forward with an idea they might have rejected last year. So steampunk hasn't been huge lately. It was a while ago, and then it kind of went away. But if that order game really takes off, there's a very good chance you're going to see a bunch of other steampunk projects kind of getting pulled forward. But yeah, so basically, what's going to happen... I mean, that other game too, the Valiant Hearts, that has some steampunk stuff in it too. It's like a reimagining of World War One, and there's big zeppelins and things that aren't necessarily historically accurate, but they have that kind of feel. So already there's a couple games that are steampunk showing up, so I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a resurgence in Freelance of more steampunk themed stuff. Even if it's vague, like, there's, steampunk's a really loose term. People tend to think of it as just like, oh, put gears on everything and clockwork and make it Victorian, and that's steampunk and it doesn't make sense and blah, blah, blah. Steampunk can be really subtle stuff, like, those two Sherlock Holmes movies with, Iron Man in them, Robert Downey Jr. Both of those are heavily, heavily steampunk influenced in their art direction, design, execution, the way the technology works. You wouldn't think of them as steampunk movies, but the signature's definitely there. But yeah, and not just that either. I mean, there's other stuff that was shown. Obviously, right now we're in the world gone wrong phase right now. All of the art direction for everything right now is basically, The Last of Us. It wasn't the first one to do it. I'm not saying it kicked it off. I'm just saying that everybody wants to have their empty city game now. So you're going to start seeing a lot more of that stuff. You already are seeing a ton of it. All of that, not necessarily zombies, but the world's gone stuff is being pulled to the forefront. So yeah, just in terms of how the freelance market works, freelance tends to follow what the big outside world of massive games and movies does. Freelance tends to follow it to a degree because, yeah, that's just how it works. But yeah. So I feel like he definitely fits on the page better this way. It doesn't feel so tangential, kind of almost touching the canvas over here. So shrinking him down, showing more of his body. There's another tangent over here where this is kind of hugging it. I'm going to fix that in just a minute. Sorry, getting questions about this stream. But yeah. That's another thing, too, about staying relevant. Even if you don't play a game or see a movie, you want to be aware of what's going on in it, because you might get asked, because I know this has happened to me and lots of other people, but, oh, hold on. Getting questions from some people in the art camp about submission stuff. But yeah, I've been continuing what I was saying a minute ago. You get asked to do stuff where they're basically telling you to steal from something that's already out all the time, and that's the weird thing is like if you're not familiar with what's been coming out, then there's not really a way for you to know that you're basically being asked to steal something. So it's like, you'll get a description and it'll basically be exactly what the character design is in a game. And it's very clear that they just want to put something out that's like this game, but they don't want to outwardly say it because once they say it, it loses a little bit of respect and blah blah blah. So they want you to get close to but not, infringe upon X idea. And if you're familiar with the idea they're trying to rip from, you can do a better job giving them what they want. Because a lot of times that saves you a lot of trouble going through tons of revisions and reiterations, trying to get down, something that might be very basic if you've seen the movie or played the game. So yeah, it's good to be familiar with as many projects as possible. The the art direction in the new Metal Gear Solid game looks really, really good. Some cool retro kind of 70s and 80s military stuff going on. You thought that his collar was fins at first? Yeah, I thought about that when I was coming in, and I would have thought it was fins if it wasn't for this thing right here. This thing right here made it read as it's a guy wearing a shirt, and this is like a lapel that becomes a collar and folds around. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but it feels like it's supposed to be a guy wearing a shirt. I mean, otherwise, if these were fins, it would be like a fish laying down on something, but there's no clues back here that he's underwater. So I'm going to assume it's a collar of a shirt. Hopefully I'm not wrong. But again, if whoever painted this is in here, feel free to voice up about something I might be misinterpreting. So because he's chubby, I'm gonna try and add, because I'm a chubby guy, I'm gonna try and add some little details down here that I'm familiar with, like, let me zoom in here, like maybe the shirt's tight, just to show again that he's like a big dude. So I'll put some buttons like on the inside of these ridges, and then I'll open the shirt way up like he's stretching it open with his width and girth. But yeah. Get some buttons in here. Sorry, I just drank tons of coffee, as I always do before sitting down to a paint over. So I might be a little talkative, a little hyper. I apologize. I don't know who this dude is, but I'm going to give him a name tag on his shirt, regardless. And it's going to have a photo of him over here. So I'm going to basically zoom out. So he's like a big ball, and then two ridges and a fin. Yep. Here's my little drawing of him down here. Perfect. On his little linoleum lapel, I'll give him a little clip. There we go. There we go. Let's think of a good name for this guy. Let's have some fun. His name should be Gasp. That's a good idea. It's a good idea, Brent. Okay, so let's get down here, and I'm gonna grab a better brush for this. I'm gonna Gasp. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna shrink this down. You gotta have fun with this stuff. It's the only way to do paintovers and stay entertained. So I apologize. If he was supposed to be a super serious Mass Effect style monster, I'm sorry, but that's not the vibe I got. His name is Gasp Fishman. Because I can't stop thinking about Steve Lichman. So he's going to have a similar last name. Apologies. Gasp Fishman. He cleans pools. That's what he is. He's a pool cleaner. You call him over when you get algae buildup in the summer and he eats all the algae. Gasp Fishman. There you go. Fantastic. Alright, so now that we've done that fun detail, I'm going to zoom out. So yeah. Yeah, there you go. Imagining what he does for a living is what makes this exciting. Maybe he works for the local government and he reintroduces troubled teens back into the community. Maybe he used to be addicted to heroin, so he understands. And now he can help kids get back on track. That's what I'd like him to be. He looks like a lunch lady. Maybe he is. All he'd need is a hairnet up here, and then an ice cream scoop full of mashed potatoes, and he'd be a lunch lady. So, something to think about. Okay. I don't know, guys. Something about Juicy J wearing hieroglyph sunglasses inside a sarcophagus is just so satisfying to me. I don't know why. The first thing I'm doing when I get off of this stream is watching that music video again. Get some more details in this ridge. This ridge. Let me fix the eyebrow problem. And then we'll move on to how to possibly introduce some colors. I just want him to look less mean, because in your original drawing, he was very, very much just like, hey, hey, I want to be friends. That's the voice I imagine this character has, and those eyebrows weren't supporting that. Cool. I'm not sure what this week's assignment is in art camp. I'm basically doing my own thing. I'm basically just going to be doing paint overs and critique from now on. So if you'd like me to look at anything in particular that's going to help you do better with your assignments, you can link it in the chat on the stream. Yeah, I don't really crit studies. That's the thing about studies, is I'd have to see the reference to crit the study. So I try to avoid doing that, because just looking at something you drew from life and not being able to see the thing you were drawing is kind of pointless. Because I have no idea what's wrong, because I can't see it. But yeah, but if you have anything you'd like me to look at, work you're trying to finish, whatever, feel free to link it. There is a bunch of stuff on the forum in the paint over section I'm going to be pulling from, because people have been waiting for me to get to it. Yeah, so I don't do as many environment paint overs, only because I don't do a lot of environments in my personal work. I will definitely take a look at some, though. If not tonight, then tomorrow. I was kind of hoping some of the other instructors would do paint overs in the thread, but I think it's going to be mostly me and you guys hanging out in there, which is A-okay. It'll give me a good reason to brush up on some environment stuff I haven't done in a few years. But yeah, so if there's stuff in the thread, hopefully I'll get to all of it. A lot of people are posting stuff there, which is good. That's what I wanted. I'm just trying to make sure that I can be fair to everybody and do a good, well-rounded body of work. I don't want to crit the same people too many times, so I might be jumping around a lot just based on like who hasn't gotten one yet. Yeah, larger eyes do make characters look more friendly, but this sketch wasn't that character. This sketch was like the beady-eyed kind of dumb-looking character. Because dumb can also look friendly. It depends what other features in the face you balance it with. But this guy kind of looked, leaning towards that sort of little tiny eyes, really big face, just kind of like Baby Cakes. If anybody knows who Baby Cakes is, I love Baby Cakes. But yeah. And again, for whoever painted this, if this is completely off base with what you wanted this character to be, I'm very sorry. These are just the impressions I got from the sketch. Hopefully they help regardless. I'm going to change this collar a bit and have it wrap down at more of a curve like a collar would, so it makes less of a tangent, making a parallel line with the edge of the canvas over there, because it was very straight up and down right next to each other. So hopefully by curving it a little, showing that it's cloth, it'll knock that back a bit, make it sit a little better. So anyway, I'm going to rotate the image back to, oh man, that's going to make his name tag. Alright, is this facing? I gotta make sure this is facing the right way. Yeah, this is facing the wrong way. His name tag's going to be backwards for a minute. But that's easily fixed, so don't worry about it. Gasp, Fishman. Shall be A-OK. I promise. Alright. Which environment was yours in the thread, Evan? Just describe it, because I've looked at all of them quite a bit. I can go in and grab it. Black and white, featured trees, and photo bashing. Okay, I'm not very good at photo bashing, but I can definitely take a look at it and see if there's composition problems and stuff that need to be fixed. Photo bashing is tough because, you know, like the stream I did a couple days ago when I was very harsh on that one piece. When you start bringing photos into something that's painted, it's very hard to make the painted elements look as good as the photo elements. So it's like, you know, instantly the image kind of falls apart. But I will definitely try to take a look at it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go look at it right now. Let's see. Oh, okay, I see what you're doing. Yeah, I see the piece. There's photos in there? I'm trying to find the photos. Is it just textures dropped onto stuff? I'll get to it. Cool. Alright, so let me go over here. Let me grab my reference, the horn toad again. Just take a quick look at this dude. So remember, you want to think about these in terms of like being shelves, basically. The brightest light's going to be at the top, and then it's going to gradiate down, and then the shadow is going to be on the bottom side. Oops. So brightest up here, then gradiating in the middle, and then shadow on the underside. Cool. So the last thing I'm gonna do, I think the last thing I'm gonna do is fix this over here, because his head's looking a little caved in now that I've readjusted the canvas placement of it. Cool. Cool. Alright. Sorry, I gotta get the ridge defined a little bit more. Show some of these scales where the light's hitting, so it's clear what the texture is. Cool. So again, if anyone listening has any questions or points of discussion they'd like me to start talking about, just drop them in the chat and I'll start. Otherwise, there's going to be long periods of silence while I go into render mode, fixing some of this stuff. And I don't want to do that and bore you horribly. but it will happen. So. Talk about chubby grubs. Well, grubs can get very chubby. They feast on dead leaves. In the autumn time, there's a lot of dead leaves, so grubs can get very chubby. And the chubbier the grub, the more slime it has to produce, or mucous membrane. And the reason it does that is because it needs to slide, and the heavier it is, the harder it is to slide because of weight-related physics. So the chubbier the grub, the juicier the grub, no matter what. That's just a fact of the world. And yeah, I mean, chances are if you find a juicy grub, it's going to be a chubby grub. Smaller grubs often follow in the path of a chubby grub because the mucus trail they've laid down just makes it easier for them to travel, so it's a path of least resistance kind of thing. But yeah, so chubby grubs actually help out their community in a very big way. So, hope that helped. Hope you feel enlightened about chubby grubs. A non-abrasive way to connect to art directors? Well, the thing you have to understand about art directors is that they are paid to be an art director. It's their job. It's not like, it's not like you're a fan or something and you're invading their personal space. I mean, from 9 to 5, presumably, if they keep normal business hours, every day, they are an art director. So if they have an email, you can send them an email. If they list their phone number online for their office, you can call their office. I mean, like, that's their job, so it's the same as any other job when it comes to applying. Um, when you talk about abrasive, the only thing I can really think of you could do that's out of line is sometimes people bombard them at conventions, at events, at workshops. They spam their emails. Just common courtesy, basically. Treat them the same way you'd treat a friend, because ideally, if you start working for them, they're going to become a friend. And they want to know that at the very least you respect them. Like, that's the biggest thing. If you treat them with respect, you're probably going to be okay. But sending emails is fine. I wouldn't send more than one, probably a week. You don't want to bombard them. Every new email you send to an art director should have something new in it. If you send an email and they don't respond, chances are they either, there's a chance they might not have seen it, but another chance is that they just opened it, it wasn't what they're looking for, and they moved on to the next one and didn't reply. Some art directors do that. So a good way to, if you're at a good pace creatively, something new should be coming out every week, even if it's just a drawing, something. So every email you send applying for the same job should have new stuff in it. If you send the same portfolio 20 times to an art director, all that tells the art director is that, hey, I haven't done anything in the past 20, and however long it's been since I first emailed you. You're literally saying, hey, I've been standing completely still this whole time. And that makes you look really, really bad. Really, really bad. If if you want to get hired by them, that's definitely not going to help. Because they need productive people. They want to know that you're getting better, your skills are climbing, you're excited, you're trying to innovate. And it's like, even if the stuff's NDA, you can, use NDA when applying for jobs. You just can't show it publicly online. Like, everybody does that. But, yeah, don't, it's a huge mistake. I can't overstate that enough. It's just, if you're applying for the same job with the same art director numerous times, update your portfolio every time you send them a new email. Because if they just keep seeing the same shit over and over again, it just looks like you're unwilling to work for it. It just translates as, oh, this person's lazy. And that's the last thing you want. That's the last thing you want. So yeah, be polite. Understand that it's their job. Treat them the way you would want to be treated. And just, yeah. They're getting paid to be an art director, though, so don't feel weird about approaching them. They're literally, their job is to look at incoming potential hires, choose the best one, and then put them on the job they're most appropriate for. That's their job, so don't feel weird about it. Like, I don't know, I'm sure they're out there, but very, very rarely have I heard an art director say, like, oh, I love my job, but all these people applying, I hate it. It's like, that's like half the job. Like, of course, you're a creative director. Like, you're gonna get the applications. That kind of comes with the territory. If you're not feeling super confident about your portfolio and you want to talk to art directors anyway, a very good thing you can do that makes you memorable, if you get to meet them at an event like a LuxCon or something, or even if you're having an ongoing back and forth of emails, say to them, like, here's my portfolio. I know I'm probably not good enough for your job yet, but if you could please take a few minutes to tell me the biggest things I need to work on, I would really appreciate it, because I really, really like the stuff you do and I'd really like to work for you. And then if they do give you feedback, which they definitely will if you're at an event, because they usually are always looking at portfolios at events, if they give you feedback, use the feedback and actually fix the images they talk to you about, and then reapply to that same art director, and they're going to go, oh, I remember giving this kid a critique at that event. Look at that. They actually did every single thing I told them to do. Wow, they're really good at following directions. They're really good at taking feedback. They're really good at pushing stuff to the next level. They're really good at being able to adapt and improve. Those are all the things I hire people based on. So it's like, your portfolio review, in a way, can be your first art test if you want it to be. Like, you can turn that into your first art test if you really want it. Because if they tell you tons of stuff about your portfolio and they go out of their way to spend time on it, and you do that, they're going to remember and they're going to respond. And then, you might not even have to do an art test after that. They'll go, oh, you know what? I already saw this kid's stuff and I saw what he did with it and he fixed all of it. I know he can do it because I saw the first step. I don't have to give him an art test now. I can just drop him into a job. And, yeah. Nothing's worse than, like, people going out of their way to give you feedback and then seeing nobody use the feedback, which is like a huge complaint I've heard lots of people say doing portfolio reviews at cons and stuff. It's like, these people came last year with a portfolio and then they showed up this year with the exact same portfolio and I reviewed the same thing twice and they haven't done anything to it. That's like a huge fuck you to anybody who's taking the time to actually try to help you. Like, if they're trying to help and you don't listen, you're basically telling them, well, I think what you said is worthless because I didn't invest any time into it, so obviously it's not worth my time. And, like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So, I'm getting a little too into painting this guy, so I should probably stop. Even though it's fun, I should probably stop. Move on. I'm gonna noodle with a couple things when I'm moving into dropping color into this guy. So, yes, James, it is, and people do it all the time. You don't know how many times I've heard people go, I applied to Wizards of the Coast again and they didn't respond. And I'm like, you haven't done anything since the last time you applied. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, don't wait for some fluke. Just do the stuff that has to be done. Like, if I ever thought about working as an art director, would I be interested in that? Yeah, I'd be really interested in that. When me and Dave were doing the Bloodsport challenges back when we were, like, doing daggers consistently and managing all those contests and things, we were basically being art directors for the whole group. We were coming up with prompts and guidelines and reviewing things, and I really enjoy doing that. I really enjoy art direction itself. I enjoy critiquing stuff, obviously, which is why I'm here. Yeah, I like world building and all that. I'd love to be an art director, but those jobs don't come easy. But yeah, someday, if I've earned my stripes, I would love to try that. That would be kind of a dream job, I think. Just being part of a team of creatives and all building something together, I think is pretty much the dream position. Sorry, I'm just like in the zone with this painting. I keep telling myself I gotta move to the next part it, but I don't know. Something about his round, scaly, chubby head is just so appealing. So fun. So appealing. Alright, let me do a quick on and off here, and then I'll desperately try to move to the next part. Alright. So hopefully these crits make sense. Gonna merge visible with this copy. Get them all down into one nice layer that I can click on and off. And the last thing, the nose, the curve of the nose is not sitting super well because I didn't define the edge of it like at all. Cool. All right. Let's see. It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm gonna try and make him. I guess I'll use the colors of the animal I referenced. I guess I'll make him like toad colors. Like sand and some green. Gonna block this in and then shuffle layers around and see how it looks. There we go. So I'm starting just as a base with a hard light layer. With a medium, like, you know, like in the middle somewhere, so the blacks still stay kind of dark, and the lights, you know, basically when you do this, the whitest stuff is going to be slightly brighter than the color you chose, and the darks are just going to sink towards black. But the higher up you go towards white, when you're doing a hard light layer, it starts to look neon and weird. So let's see. I'm gonna go hard light again. Gonna go with a blue, a little brighter than usual. It's a little too saturated. Yeah, just trying to find a good background color. Give me a second here. I'll go with this for now. He's got kind of an orange-brown sort of skin. So I'm going to go with like a bluish, desaturated background. I'm going to drop the opacity on this so it's not so saturated in the dark areas. But, yeah. I don't want the background to be too colorful just because I want to bring some subtle color out in his face. So I want that to pop more. Yeah, something like that. Just kind of a desaturated blue. You know who he might look like, actually? Lol. Never mind. I was thinking of that terrible dude from the new Star Wars movies. You know, the horrible one. I'll drop it in the chat. The guy who's basically a Krogan. Stupid character. But, yeah. So I guess his shirt should be like, I don't know, like an off-white. Actually not going to do that. I'm going to use a multiply for that. I'm going to start pulling light out on his face. There we go. Overlay, let's try soft light. No, I'm going with overlay. So again, I don't usually work up from grayscale, so it's going to take me a few minutes to kind of get back in the swing of it. I haven't worked in grayscale since I was in school, so give me a moment to rediscover the joys of grayscale. Alright. Grab an overlay layer. Anyone have anything they want to talk about? Come on, guys, I need this. How often do I change my approach or process? I'm gonna say once, like, every 6 months, probably. It's not a conscious decision, it just kind of happens. You find a better way to do something and you narrow it down. Yeah. I've tried to learn other people's ways of doing stuff, and sometimes it works, but usually it's, like, really frustrating. I tried the whole smudge tool thing that everybody was doing after Brad Rigney exploded, and I love his work, and I was like, okay, and I could not, for the life of me, understand how to do that. I kept trying to do it, and I could not figure it out. But, yeah. The big thing for me, I don't know if anyone else has had this problem, but the most honest answer I can give you is that when I was in school, they didn't let us use Photoshop. They said that illustrators only use traditional media, and that Photoshop was a tool for graphic designers. So I would do Photoshop when I was at home because I knew that that was bullshit. But when I was in class doing actual work, I was only trained with acrylic, and not very well either because they weren't very good at using it there. So a lot of how I approach doing digital art comes from how I learned how to do traditional art, which isn't necessarily the best way to view it, because Photoshop can do so much that traditional media can't, and vice versa, really. But you know, the optimal way to use acrylic is not the optimal way to use Photoshop. Acrylic is all about layering and slowly building stuff up, and then really, really refining it, and then layering it again. And Photoshop isn't necessarily best handled that way. It has all kinds of really cool shortcuts to do really effective things really fast that you can't do with a paintbrush. So I'm slowly picking some of those up here and there, but it's really hard to shake 4 years of acrylic training when you get into like your mindset of how you're going to make an image work. It's kind of a pain in the ass. Do I feel like I get enough time to draw from life? Uh, I mean, I can kind of make time. That's the nice thing about being a freelancer is if there's something you really want to do, you just make time to do it. Unless you're totally in the shit, which you know does happen fairly frequently, where you just don't have time to do anything. If you want to do something, you can kind of plan around it. I've been doing a draw something every day thing for a while now, where I just have been forcing myself to do it. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm getting a good amount of drawing in each day, but I wasn't for a while because I was doing nothing but client work constantly. Which it's good when you have work. It's a good feeling, but you can really lose track of your personal development if all you're worrying about is a series of deadlines. So just look out for that. Be aware of it. It's very easy to get a lot of stuff done without actually pushing forward at all. It's like an illusion of progress. It's a very weird thing that you can run into once you start getting like full-time freelance stuff. Like, it's very weird. It's like when you're, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. When you start out freelancing, your skill's not at a point usually where you can do work all the time. You get a couple jobs, and then you've got free time which you use for studies. Then you get to the middle, where all like the mid-level mediocre jobs are, which I didn't say bad, I just said mediocre. And there's an infinite number of those. There are so many of those that if you're not careful, this is what happened to me, you can basically just keep taking work that's in that middle zone forever. It doesn't pay super well, but there's tons of them, like infinite supplies of them. And then if you want to, and you can actually get the time to work harder, study more, improve your skills, you can start getting really high-end jobs. But that's only if you get out of the middle area and you force yourself into that kind of upper tier. But yeah, it takes time. It takes time and a lot of conscious effort. I mean, that's the thing to keep in mind is as long as you're doing this all the time, you grow no matter what, but there's faster ways to grow than others if you can do it. If you have the time to do it, there's faster ways to get better quicker. Some people can't do that because they have to pay tons of bills and stuff, and they just got to do the jobs. But if you're working all the time and you have a conscious effort in your brain to get better, you're going to get better no matter what. It's just some things make you get better faster than other things. Sorry, pushing light in this painting in a couple places to make it feel a bit more solid. I'm having way too much fun working on this guy, so thank you. Thank you, person who submitted this, whose name I'm forgetting. Something Mason? Is it Ryan Mason? Let me go look. Let me go check it out real quick. John Manor? John Manor. Okay. John Manor, thank you so much. Tons of fun. Yeah, burning yourself out is a real concern. I see people talk about that in the chat. It can happen. It's not a myth. You can physically burn yourself out and actually cause damage. And you can mentally burn yourself out. But even when you burn yourself out, it's like, even when I'm burnt out, I still do work. Like, you're not as productive though. It's kind of like, yeah, you're just not as fast when you run yourself down. But I don't believe in that thing people talk about where it's like, you ever have one of those days where you just wake up and you just can't work at all? It's like, no, I don't believe in that. But I do believe in only being able to work at 30 to 40% your normal capacity because you've just been running yourself down like crazy and your brain physically can't do it anymore. Like, that's real. That's definitely real. But there's no such thing as just waking up and by will of nature somehow you just can't work that day. That's just lazy. Like, literally nothing is stopping you on a day where you just feel like you can't draw. Nothing is stopping you from just setting up a still life and drawing it. You don't need an imagination to do that. You can just do it, like, and have it out of the way. But yeah. But yeah, definitely don't run yourselves down. Definitely don't risk getting sick. That's the thing I never understand is when people are like, I just got to keep working harder and harder and harder. And I'm like, do you have a deadline? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, definitely get a full night's sleep. And they're like, oh, I can't. I'm like, if you don't have a deadline, then get a full night's sleep. You're going to get way less done if you get the flu and you have to stay in bed for days. Like, so just don't risk it. Like, why risk getting sick? Get a good amount of rest. Work really hard. There's still, if you get a full night's sleep every night, 8 hours, there's still, what, 16 hours left of the day to work? Like, you're fine. You're fine. Like, you're good. Alright, I'm going to come down here and let's see. I wonder. Hope. Just gonna play around for a minute, bear with me. What show should you watch? I don't know. I don't know. You've seen all the same stuff I've seen. So, go watch the old shows that we missed when they first came out. Go watch, like, Rome. Yeah, I should watch Oranges. I haven't watched Orange is the New Black yet. I'm gonna leave his lips this kind of weird gray red. Might look like lipstick, but whatever. I want the inside of his mouth to be a significantly different color than the outside of his mouth. Hmm. If anyone else has anything they'd like to discuss, just drop it in the chat. When introducing yourself to ADs, what's most important? Being polite and having a good portfolio are the two most important things. The second one's pretty obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people are just like, here's some studies I did. Can I work for you? And it's like there's no original art in their portfolio at all. Like, that happens more than you'd think now because of the study sickness thing that goes around on the forums where people equate studies with personal work, and studies are not personal work, but people don't seem to understand that. So, like, you get that problem a lot, so definitely don't do that. Have a portfolio with personal work in it, and then, be polite. I mean, an AD wants to see above all creativity and something that innovates. There's nothing better in a portfolio than a new take on an old idea, because most things, not all things, but most things are trying to get as much life out of an idea as possible. So if you take a tired concept that's been done a bunch and you find a new way to do it that looks cooler or is more visually intriguing than people who've done it in the past, that's a huge thing. That'll get you jobs left and right. But yeah, I mean, above all, an AD has to work with you. So it's like they want to know that they can get along with you, because there's going to be, late night phone calls sometimes where you have to get something done for a deadline. They're going to be emailing you all the time. They're going to have an ongoing relationship with you. So they want to know that you're the kind of person they look forward to talking to, that they get along with. It's the Neil Gaiman thing. If you've looked that up, there's three circles to freelance, and you can be two of them and still get plenty of work. But if you're all three, you'll never stop getting work. You have to do good work is circle number one. Number two is you have to be easy to get along to, easy to get along with. I mean, and number three is you have to produce the work in a timely manner. You have to get it in on time. So if you're nice to work with and you get the work in on time, you don't have to be as good as other people because they'll want to work with you more. If you're better than everybody and you're easy to get along with, they're going to give you a pass on being late sometimes, usually. So it's like any two of those is fine, but if you're all three, you're the perfect employee. You can just look up Neil Gaiman freelance on Google and find it. It's literally the most honest thing in the world. It's the best breakdown of what it takes to be a freelancer I've ever heard. It's really common sense stuff, but you don't think about it until somebody puts it just the right way. Yeah, that's the right spelling. Neil Gaiman. He's an author, created Sandman, a bunch of other stuff. He's great. He gives really, really solid advice on how to make a career work doing creative stuff. Yeah, he sounds like he's always reading you a fairy tale. That's the thing I love about Neil Gaiman the most. No matter what he says, he's reading a book to you and you're a little boy. or girl sitting in bed. I like his voice more than Morgan Freeman, definitely. That might just be me, though. I'm going to take a color layer now, and in the shadows, I'm going to cool them off a bit because that's going to help sell the form as a three-dimensional form where the warm light, areas that are catching the warm light are going to be warmer, and areas that are receding back are going to be cooler. I'm going to make it blue because the background's blue, so it's going to reflect into the shadows. And, yeah. Then I'll be pretty close to done with my quick color pass. Emphasis on quick. There's so much more I could do. Yeah, there's a really great college commencement speech that he gave. You can find Neil Gaiman, where he talks about how he got into freelance and all the rules that he's learned over the years of doing it, and it's actually really, really good advice. Some of the best advice, aside from the first one, which is, you know, essentially lying. But yeah, he was doing that before the internet, so he kind of was able to get away with it. So don't follow that advice. Don't say that you did a cover for National Geographic if you never did, basically, because they can find that shit out really fast now. Basically, what Neil Gaiman says in the interview, for anyone who isn't going to watch it, is that when he started freelancing, he didn't have a resume because he hadn't worked for anybody. And in writing, the same way it is with art, if you don't have a resume, or in terms of what we have, a portfolio, you know, no one hires you. It's that first hurdle that's the hardest. It's getting someone to take a risk by being the first one to hire you. So what he did was he lied, and he said he worked for a bunch of magazines and stuff that he didn't actually work for, just because he knew he was good enough to do the work. So he needed somebody to take a risk on him. Don't do that now. He was able to do that and get away with it in the '80s. Don't do that today. that's not that's not a thing that you want to do. So yeah. Brent, you need to work in a studio, man. You need to go become a creature designer at some studio and just design creatures. Like, you need to stop. You need to stop playing with this freelance trash. Like, you're a specialty shop. You know what I mean? Like, you do your thing. You're not a one size fits all. And freelance is a one size fits all kind of thing. You got to be able to do everything in freelance. So, like, you need to go work at like Capcom or something and do designs for Monster Hunter or some RPG company and design all the monsters in the game. Like, that's what you got to do. But you should, man. That's your fit. Like, There's no reason to pretend you're a character guy if you're not a character guy. Like, go get a job doing monsters. Those jobs do exist. They're hard to get, but luckily you're really good at doing that. Even games like World of Warcraft have people that pretty much exclusively do monsters. Like, you could work for virtually any fantasy MMO, and that would be the bulk of what you do. Well, one mistake that everybody makes that you're making right now is you're trying to decide when you're ready. You're ready when the client is willing to pay you to do the job. If they think you're good enough to do the job and they're willing to give you money to do it, you're good enough to do it. That's the thing, is this is a client-driven business. The second they say you're good enough and they're going to pay that bill, you're good enough. That's the thing. Not applying because you think they're not going to like you is just wasting time. How good you need to be to work is really only defined by the person paying the check. That's a big thing a lot of people don't seem to get. Yeah, exactly. Just start applying. Like, the worst they can say is you're not ready yet, which is what you already think. So who cares? Like, you already feel that way, so why not just send out the applications? All they're going to do is go, oh, that thing you already feel, it's a thing. Like, there's literally no harm in sending out applications. And in a weird way, I kind of talked about this earlier, but this is another thing to consider that a lot of people don't think about. Getting an application at a company rejected or failing an art test could actually be what ultimately gets you the job, but nobody thinks about that. Everybody only thinks about the immediate. They go, oh, I failed the art test, the company doesn't like me, shit, I'm done. But if you can turn that around to your advantage, no one ever thinks about, the long-term stretch of what that actually means. If you submit a portfolio to a company and they're like, oh, this just isn't good enough, I'm sorry, we can't hire you, there's two things you can do. You can sulk and go, oh, that company I want to work for, I'm not good enough, I give up, I'm done. And the second thing you can do is go, okay, well, now I'm going to spend the next 4 months making an even better portfolio that's going to totally destroy the first one I did. I'm going to apply to the same company, I'm going to send it to the same art director, and they're going to go, oh, he did all that in 4 months? He really, really wants this job. Look at all these people whose portfolios we've shot down, and he's sending us a second updated portfolio specifically for us. Like, that can get you the job. That first rejection and then what you choose to do with it can be the thing that defines you as a candidate. Like, no one thinks that way, though. They just want to be sad about it and do nothing but whine. Like, failing an art test and bouncing back can be huge. Like, trust me, when they look at who they're going to hire, the amount of times you've applied with brand new stuff, the amount of times you've tried to impress them, the effort you've put into working for them definitely enters into the conversation. They don't just go, well, this person's the most skilled, so hire this person. That's not how it happens. Like, all that shit matters. not necessarily buoyant when changing their methods. They just want somebody who responds well to criticism and was willing to go the extra mile. That's literally all they just need to see that you're willing to respond. Like, so many people shut down the second criticism happens. Like, they're a team on tight deadlines that have to get projects out. They don't want to hire somebody who shuts down under criticism because half of the job is being criticized. The amount of iterations something goes through before it gets approved by everybody on the team and the client and then goes to print is astounding. They need to know that you're okay with having something shot down, working really hard, and going the extra mile to get it done. Like, that's 99% of what you're going to be doing while you're working at one of these companies. The amount of rejected art that goes into something like a game or a film hugely outweighs the stuff that gets approved. So, like, they need to know that you're the kind of personality that can handle that, because some people can't. Some people really can't handle that, and those people are not suited for studio jobs. Like, even if they're incredibly good at painting, if they can't handle putting, 2 weeks into designing a character and rendering it out, and then having it go in a vault because it doesn't fit the specifications for the game, if they're not okay with that, then that's not the environment for them. That's just the bottom line of it. Like, I'll talk from experience just to hammer the point home. Um, I'm legally allowed to show in my portfolio, I think, 5 Transformers, and 4 of them. Okay, I'm allowed to show 5 Transformers for the packaging designs I did at Pilot Studio for Transformers 4. I'm allowed to show 5 total. 3 of them are Grimlock. So it's really only 3 Transformers. But I worked on probably 10, maybe 12. And the other 7 got rejected. We finished them. We painted them all the way to finish, totally polished out, rendered out. And then, Hasbro saw them and said, oh, this isn't going to work for X, Y, and Z, or, oh, we changed the design, or, oh, what if this posed instead? And I can never show those things contractually. They're just, it's never going to be out there. But that's the job. That's the thing is, like, you have to deal with that. That's part of the creative process when you're in-house on a design team. It's not going to be right every time. So that's the thing. When they're looking for somebody to hire, they're looking for personalities that can work in that environment. Some people get so frustrated by that they just quit. And it's like, you can't handle it that way. Well, I mean, that is true, Derek. Derek's in the chat for People on Demand says, in my opinion, that's the best way to learn and grow. But, I mean, I just want to say from experience, sometimes the decisions that get made make absolutely no sense. It's not always for the best. So there are frustrating times where you do something that the whole team loves and you're super proud of it, and then someone higher up says, we can't use this. And everybody's like, what? But, like, after that initial what, you have to just hit the ground running with number 2. Like, that's the thing. You got to be okay with stuff maybe not making sense to you and still being able to do it. Like, you got to get over that ego. But anyway, back to the point. Those are the people they look for. So, if your portfolio gets rejected, or if you fail your art test, the best thing you can do, the absolute best thing you can do, is do it again. Apply again, do a whole new portfolio, do another art test, and really, really nail it the second time. Like, that determination and that willingness to keep trying and keep pushing it is literally the difference between you and 99.9% of all the other applicants they're going to see. Because most people, and by this I mean virtually all people, when they get rejected from a company, they never apply at that company again. Very, very few people are willing to do that twice for whatever reason. It might be that art's very personal and they just can't handle it. It might be the personality type that most artists are. I don't know what it is, but most of the time, if somebody applies somewhere and they say no, that's it. They said no forever, and that's the biggest mistake you can make. It's what you do with them saying no that's ultimately going to decide what happens. Do I think this is why a lot of developers are switching to smaller studios? No, developers are switching to smaller studios because big projects aren't making as much money. That's pretty much the long and short of it. It's basically the projects they're doing aren't economically viable anymore, so they want to reduce the team to as much talent as possible for as low a price as possible, and pump out very uniform work that feels like it was made by two or three people because it probably was made by two or three people, and just get it out. Because, the heyday of the 90s where a game studio on average could be like 100 people and there's, 20 artists working on a game or whatever, that is very rare now. That whole AAA mentality is kind of disappearing completely. I mean, you can tell from the studios that have been shut down in the past 4 years. You can go on Google and type down game studios that have been shut down in the past 10 years and just look at it. It's crazy the amount that it's shrinking, but that's why. That's why they're making the decisions to go with smaller teams. It's not that nobody can do the job. It's not that people aren't willing to go the extra mile. It's that things aren't making as much money as they used to all across the board. Whether it's movies, games, books, everything's in decline entertainment-wise. Well, like just for example, think about Super Meat Boy as an example, the game Super Meat Boy. Um, that made more money versus the cost it was to develop than virtually anything that's come out of a AAA studio ever. Like the work ratio to profit margin of that game, like that's where everything's going right now. Everybody wants to invent the next Angry Birds or something like that because the whole AAA mentality for movies, for games, it doesn't make sense anymore because the cost is getting so ridiculously high. Like, it's at the point now where they want to put $1 billion into a movie to make $2 billion out of the movie. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But that's where we are. That's what the industry is now. I just realized I missed something when I was painting this dude's face. So I'm trying to fix it real quick. It was what was making it look lopsided in the grayscale. This ridge didn't match the other ridge. So I'm spending a lot of time on this one because I'm realizing that this is one of those crits that can inform a lot of people's stuff. So even if this isn't your piece, we've done so much in it that you can probably apply to yours that I'm just going to keep going. You know? Hopefully you guys are finding this helpful. I hope so. I'm always worried that I'm not explaining something the right way and then it's going to fall flat. So I'm just on a normal layer now on top, touching up a few things here and there before I call it quits. I'm trying to see here. Something doesn't, again, I'm gonna widen his face over here to fill in the shirt a bit more. Just because it doesn't quite feel fat enough. Feels a little too straight lined compared to the other side of the shirt. Raise this shoulder a bit. Talk about making friends in your field of work. Okay. Basically, it's the same as when talking to art directors, really. I mean, be polite, be considerate. I think more than other communities online, this is one of the ones where the kind of pay it forward mentality is the best one to take. If you are just willing to be nice to people and help them with stuff from the get-go, people remember that and it resonates, and then they're willing to help you, and then everybody's helping everybody and everybody's friends. And it's really good. It's like networking is such a huge part of this because it's all done online and because everybody has so many clients in common. It's like, being friends, it's not a cynical thing. It's not like have friends because friends get you work. It's just naturally that's kind of how it goes. It's like, somebody who's just starting out, you got to figure who they are in 3 years isn't who they are now. And somebody who's way ahead of you, who's willing to help you, that's like, you want to make those connections because they can tell you what step to jump to next. So know people on both sides of the spectrum. Help people come up the same way people helped you come up, and then look to people above you to, figure out what you want to do next because they've already made that step. And it's like, it's one of the weird things where you can simultaneously be kind of a professional pairing and also very good friends in a personal way. It's really cool because everybody has their own style and their own approach and stuff they want to do. And like, if I ever get a job that's creature design, that's not my thing. So if I don't need to pay my bills, I always send it to like Brent or one other person I know who loves doing monsters. And it's like, if that's the kind of thing you need to be willing to do in the community because then everybody benefits. People remember that you do that stuff, and then they help you out and they send you stuff. And yeah, you wanna be informed. You want to be polite. You want to be friendly. Everybody ideally should be helping everybody out, which is pretty much the way it works. I mean, at least with the people I know in the community. Yeah, it's really cool. It's nice to be part of that. It's just be respectful. Be polite. Understand that other people don't necessarily have to think like you, but that everybody wants to be treated with a degree of respect. Because I've met people in the industry that are just dicks, basically, out of the gate. And it's like, when you're, if you act that way, people talk. In anything, people talk. It's, this isn't exclusive from that. People share stories and stuff, so you don't want to burn too many bridges. It's just a thing. But yeah, it's like that's just what you do. Be considerate, make friends, be polite, help people out. It's better for everybody. It's better for everybody. That's my spiel on being friends with as many people as possible. Trying to soften this cast shadow a bit. Not make it so just black. Get some reflected light in there. Going to soften the ridge around the nose a bit. Out of curiosity, what's the proportion of males versus females in freelance illustration? Well, there's far more. I don't know why. I'm just observing from the people I know in the community. So if you disagree with me, this is totally based on my own experience meeting people. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Overwhelmingly, there's more female illustrators than there are female concept artists for whatever reason. I don't know why. But I'd say in illustration, it's probably 70-30. 30% female, 70% male. I'd say in concept art, it's almost 90-10. I don't know why that is, but for every female name I can drop that I've seen as a concept artist, I know a huge handful of dudes. But yeah, that's definitely changing. There's way more female illustrators now than there were even 10 years ago. That's on the up and up. But yeah. I'd say it's probably 70-30 right now for illustration. That's my closest estimate. And it might only be that high because a bunch of the people working in illustration now are holdovers from the last generation of illustrators, which was almost entirely dudes. Like when you think about like illustrators and comic book artists and stuff from the 90s and the 80s, that's almost entirely men. Like pretty much entirely men. And they're still working for the most part. So you have to factor that into the equation. In the generation coming up now, it could be 50-50. I really have no idea. But all those people that were working back then are still working today. But there's some really, really amazing illustrators that have been blowing up recently that are female that I just keep seeing them coming and coming. Like, I'm going to butcher her name. I'm so sorry in advance. Actually, I'm going to type it in so I don't butcher it. I'm going to find it. Rebecca Yanovskaya is one of my all-time favorites and she's relatively new, but she's so fucking good. It's like disgusting. Like in the chat, I'll put a link. My God, is she good? Like, ugh. Rebecca, you're never gonna hear this, but if you do, I'd love to talk to you. I don't even. You're so good. It's like her and Yon Lossel are like the king and queen of the black, white, and gold phenomenon that's happening right now. Like, they're so good at doing these amazing pieces that only have black, white, and gold. And it's like, something about that combo is so satisfying, and they're so good at doing it. I guess the best advice for making friends in the field, to go back to the previous question, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but honestly, just be yourself, because people can tell when you're bullshitting them, always. If you just put on, like, a fake face every time you talk to them because you want to act professional and, like, just have a contact, like, don't have a contact, have a friend. Like, always. Always have a friend over a contact. And if you don't act like yourself, they're never going to be your friend because they're never going to respect you because you're acting fake. So just, be yourself. It's fine. As long as you're respectful, it's going to be fine. But yeah, I can't tell you the amount of people I've talked to that just put on this, like, hey man, what's up? So I heard that you're working on Transformers. That's really cool. What can you tell me about that? And it's like, you don't talk this way. Like, what's wrong with you? Hey, if you've got any job offers that you're not doing, it'd be super cool if you'd send them my way. And it's like, no. No, definitely not. I'm going to send them to the dudes that I talk to and the girls that I talk to every day on the regular who act like normal human beings. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, it's not. Hi, man. God, your work is so cool. I noticed you're doing stuff for Mears Miniatures. How can I get in on that? It's like, stop it. Stop. Just be a human. There's my advice. It's my advice for everything in the art field. Just be a human. I found it. I found the advice. Be a human being. Hmm. Can I tell a story about my creepy cousin? I've already told those stories on here. Those have nothing to do with art. No, I'll tell one, sure. Why not? We have nothing else to talk about. Everybody watched E3 and went to bed, so this is going to be kind of a quiet stream anyway. Okay. So, let's see here. So when I was a kid, I've told this story many times on the Crimson Dagger streams forever ago, so apologies if this is a repeat. When I was a kid, I had a cousin named Dan. Same name as me. It's a family name. And I would stay weekends at his house with my aunt, Margie. And I don't know what was wrong with him. To this day, I don't know what was wrong with him. Something was wrong with him. It was either developmental or he had a brain problem. I don't know. But he was one of those people that just wanted to pull wings off flies, basically. He was just absolutely sadistic. He just, whatever. Hurt animals, break stuff, whatever. It's just one of those people. So, of course, I was his favorite cousin. So I'd stay in his room always. And I couldn't say no because even though he was my cousin and he was family, I was terrified of him. So when he'd be like, "You're staying in my room, cuz," I couldn't say no because I was terrified of him. So I always stayed in his room when I was there on weekends, and he didn't sleep when I was there. He would look out his window, sit up in bed and look out his window all night, or he would talk to me and keep me up all night about all kinds of terrible things. Like, what do you think happens when you die, and blah, blah, blah. And have you ever thought about, and then insert the most horrible thing in the world. And yeah, so those were some serious experiences right there. But anyway, so one day I saw him bringing a shovel down into the basement, and they had one of those old New England houses where the basement is dug out of the earth and reinforced with beams up on a hill. So they know that, the water's not going to reach it because it's uphill. And the basement's basically dug out and packed earth. And he was bringing a shovel down there, and he said, "Don't come down here." And I said, "Okay." And I knew better than to go down there. And I heard him digging and digging and digging and digging and digging and digging for hours. And then I heard dragging sounds and moving sounds in the basement. And I'm about 7 years old at the time, 7 or 8, maybe 9. I'm gonna say 8 or 9. I'm pretty young, too young to do anything. But too young to do anything if something goes down, basically. So I hear all that, and then he tells all of us to come down there. And by all of us, I mean me, my other cousin, who's about my age, and my younger cousin, who's very young. He's like, 5 or 6 at the time. And we all go down there, and it's me and them, and, my older cousin Dan is considerably older. He's like 14 or 15. And what he has done is he's dug a square hole into the side of the wall. So it's like not a hole in the ground underneath you, a hole in the side of the wall. So it's like, standing up basically, this vertical kind of hole. And the dragging sounds were him moving the washing machine to get it away from the wall and dig a huge washing machine sized hole behind it that goes back about 3 feet, maybe, not very far, pretty shallow. And he goes, "We're going to play a game." And I said, "What's the game?" And he said, "The game is boy in the hole." And I said, "What's boy in the hole?" And he said, "Well, you take a boy," and then he grabbed my little cousin, who was like 5 or 6, and he said, "And you put him in the hole." And then he put him in a hole, and he pushed the washing machine up against the hole and sealed him in there, and none of us were strong enough to move a washing machine, and we had to listen to him scream, and scream, and scream, and scream, until their parents got home 2 hours, 3 hours later. And then I watched his dad give him the beating of a lifetime. And there's a story about my cousin Dan. You asked for it. So there you go. No stories with him are good stories. So, yep. So anyway, what do we talk about now? We're here now, guys. We're here in the zone where we talk about deep, terrifying, meaningful things. Painting this fish man. Oh yeah, you're talking about the delivery story. That same cousin, when I was 17, I had a pizza delivery job. It was the first like driving job I'd ever had, and I delivered to a party that nobody was at, and nobody was answering the door. And I turned around to get back in my car, and when I turned around to get back in my car, my cousin, who I hadn't seen in 5 years, same cousin, walked out of the woods in the dark, and he said, "Hey, cuz, is that you?" And it was like seeing a ghost, and I wanted to run screaming because it was the most random thing ever. Mm. He's gonna hear this on this live stream, and he's gonna come find me. This is gonna be what gets me killed, guys. This is how I die. Okay. Gasp Fishman is this guy's name. Marjorie, I don't have any plushies. Come on, I'm a fully grown man. Why would I have plushies in my home? Guys, come on. Obviously I don't. That's not something guys do. Don't even worry about it. Only girls collect plushies. I'm a very masculine man. I would never do that. Never in a million years. So don't even think about it, okay? Because having plushies is something I would never do. Obviously. For anyone listening on demand who's not looking at the screen and thinks I'm a sexist, that was a joke. I was holding up a Pokemon plushie. I hate that I have to say that. I hate that I have to say that. Anyway. Okay. I'm at the point in this painting where I'm not really doing anything significant. I'm just kind of like polishing and noodling. So, I guess that means it's time to move on. So long. Farewell and goodbye. Okay. Gasp Fishman. What a man. Get some color in his little lapel down here. His laminate. He's got a family. He's happily married to his high school sweetheart, Barbara Fishman, with 2 children, Bobby Fishman and Stacy Fishman. So I'm going to turn off some layers and turn on some layers and take a look at the long journey we've had with Gasp Fishman. And then I'm going to move on to another piece because, like all good things, our time with Gasp must now come to an end. Just doing a quick contrast adjustment on top. Alright, I don't know what piece I'm going to crit next. I gotta find something. Let me quickly browse through here. Alright, let's take a look at Gasp real quick before I get off of here. So, I'm going to duplicate this background copy, and I'm going to merge visible with all these adjustments. Bump the colors real quick. Alright, so this is the journey. This is the journey of Gasp Fishman. Gasp Fishman, everybody.